referral triage, scheduling piece, the day of the visit, which includes the provider workflow. And then we will end off with any questions we may have and any follow-up questions from the last session. Just a note that this session will be recorded. It's just for us to look back and reference on in case we missed any requirements that were discussed during the session, during the meeting. Okay, so let's move on ahead. So the group consists of the same people as last time. So we do have Dr. Kyla again, Naria again, and then Elsa, as we mentioned, will join us later in a bit. There are a whole bunch of CST members on the call, so I won't go through everyone, but I'm Agnes again from the PET team. I'll be mainly running through this demo. Anyone from the CST team, if you are speaking, make sure to state your name first, and then you can and then speak. Yeah. Okay. So let's dive right ahead into our demo, into the referral and triage piece. So I will pull up a patient. I'll review the different pieces on the, I guess the demographics, etc., where to find in a moment when I get into the provider demo. But for a referral, sorry, just a moment. Let's just go through the actual high-level workflow, just so we know what an idea of how it goes through for CST. So there are two types of referral. One's called internal referral and one's called an external referral. An internal referral is when another group or medical service is placing an order through CST. So the site is already on CST. An external referral is when the clinic or site is not on CST. So it's mainly going to be using a referral form. We do know that the external piece is probably not as common for you guys. So we'll be focusing more on the internal referral process. So it starts off with the clerk receiving the electronic referral, which is a referral order, and they will check, validate, and confirm the referral. They might be creating a referral encounter and then setting the referral triage triage status. And then Dr. Kyla or Arya, you will review the referral and referral manager if that's required. We know that also most often just goes ahead and books it anyways, but we will show that piece in case you do need to do the triaging. After you triage, it will go back into Elsa's queue where she'll monitor the referral, the status in that referral. And if all goes well, she'll go ahead and schedule the appointment and do any chart prep. For the day of the clinic visit, also will check the patient in, and then if there are any nursing staff, they will complete the nursing assessment and note, and then either Dr. Kyla or Arya will complete the provider's assessment or place any necessary orders, for example, the PFT and spirometry order that was mentioned, or any D100 power plans that we're developing for you guys. And then once the patient is ready to leave and we think that they need a follow-up, we can put a follow-up order. Just a high-level overflow, high-level view of the workflow. Okay, so just distinguishing between the two types of referral again. So just so when we dive into the system, we know what the difference is. Like I mentioned, internal referral will be placed by an order, which we'll show in a moment. It will fall into the shot book, which is the, one of the clerk's applications to use. And then the clerk will process the referral depending on the situation. Either they need to push it to you guys for triage, or she might triage right away, depending on the type of patient. And then there's the external, which will be via a fax, and it'll fall into an app called the Work Queue Monitor. And then same thing, Elsa will be processing the referral. Okay, awesome. Up to this point, are there any questions, Dr. Kyla and Arya? Okay, let's go into the system and I will place the referral order. So say we want to refer to your clinic. Today's demo will be using the referral to BCC relief order. The referring provider will find the appropriate order and they will select it. And then you see in the top right, there's like a green icon that shows that the order has been added, and that you can click into there and select modify details to add any information. You'll be able to select the scheduling priority. You can say next available appointment, or if you don't need to see them until maybe 6 months later, then we can select that. The scheduling location will be your location in the system, and the reason for referral will follow up for today's demo. And any other special instructions if you have. So this is for the referring provider to you guys. So we'll go ahead and sign the order, and I'll pass it to Martha, and she will show us how it brings up in the clerk's queue. Are you speaking, Martha?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
There you go. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right. So, yeah, my name is Martha. I'll be building the scheduling application for your clinic. As a clerk, I will go here to, let me move this. I'm going to move this over and to the request list by location. That's the request list name. The request list here is AMB Leaf, but yours will be AMB LTFU feature request list. You'll have an ambulatory location of VGH LTFU. Once I click find here, it refreshes, and here's the order that Agnes placed. So here I'm going to show you how, like, without a triage, it would just, Elsa would just click the complete request here. There's some required fields that she needs to fill out. And here it's in the WIP. This is the work in progress box. At this point, she can just drag and drop it to the provider here. I'm not going to confirm this appointment because we're going to use the same patient to show you the triage, but that's what she would do if there's no triage involved. She would just basically be scheduling that appointment. And then she would just hit confirm. There's also a suggest functionality, which if she selects that, it will just give her the next available appointment with that provider. She would click select and OK. So I'm going to cancel this just so I can show you the triage part. I'm going to go back to the request list here. So if triage is necessary, she'll click modify, and this is to create this referral encounter. Just going to set the encounter, add an encounter. And here she will select the referral management conversation, click OK. Facility name. This is our example for today. And then here it's searching for the patient and the MPI. Usually doesn't take this long, but it's our training environment. Wow. Okay, it's going to close that out. And it's going to launch the referral management conversation. Here I'm going to go to the encounter information tab. The encounter type is defaults. The medical service I'll select is medical oncology. The unit here will be ECC, VA, LEAF. It's the provider. Okay, and then I'm going to click on the referral info tab, put the date that the referral was received. Now here, if the triage is necessary, I'm going to go ahead and put ready for triage. Now I'm going to click complete. I don't need anything printed. So now my referral encounter has been completed. Now, if I go over to, if I go over to the PM office, referral encounter work list, and click OK, you see my patient is there, and it's ready for the triage from the provider. So I think, Agnes, you want to go ahead and do that accept order?
Yes.
Stop sharing.
Just put my screen. Okay. So let me just go back. There is a referral management button up here, which takes us to the referral screen. We do need to enter in the location, which is the BCCV location, but I wonder if I do this. I wonder if this will pull up. Just give me one moment. It doesn't look like the patient is pulling up. Yeah, ready for triage status. We have Martha, it was in C, confirming we all did it all in C, right?
Yes, it's insert.
Okay.
I think if you could just place the order directly, like just that accept order.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes.
This process that you're showing now, is this still what we're doing when we
Sorry, you got cut off there, but I think the question was that if we're still doing, if you don't need to triage patient?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
It was getting cut off. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Now it's good.
I was just asking, like this process that you're showing now, so the very first step that you showed was how someone would place an internal referral to us, right?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, and then all the subsequent steps after that, including where we are now, are still ELSA processing the triage, is that correct? Or have we moved?
That is correct. And then up until this point, if you do need to triage Dr. Kyla or Aria, then you're going to the screen and then search for your clinic and then search for the referral triage status that has the ready for triage status. That's how you know there's patients for you to triage in those rare cases. So if you do need to, then you search for your patient there.
So this what you're showing now is what Aria and I would be doing, yes?
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, this is Martha. Everything that I showed would be the clerical part of it.
Yeah. So when you do review the patient, if you do need to triage, we would review the patient chart, take a look at any information that's relevant to you, either their past medical history or any documents that has been completed on this patient, or there might be a referral referral note for you, a consult from the referring provider, anything that's important for you to decide whether you want to accept this patient or not. Any labs you can review on the patient's chart. And then if all goes well, we will go ahead and accept the order. On one of the quick orders pages, there's an accept referral down here. We'll just go ahead and place this order. If we want to add any more information for the clerk, we will go into modify details. And the screen will pull up. And then same thing, just add in the drop down the scheduling priority. So in this case, it might be within the next or be closer time, what kind of visit if necessary, any special instructions for us. And we'll go ahead and sign this order. This will drop back into Elsa's queue. I guess since Elsa's not here yet.
No, she's here. She's been here.
Elsa. Okay, Elsa is here. Okay, awesome. So I've accepted this order. It will go into Martha's queue again to schedule, so we can show that piece.
Yep, I'll share my screen again.
Sorry, just while you're doing that. So a lot of the, I would say for receiving internal referrals, what usually happens now is that someone, like one of the transplant attendings, sends us like a very simple like message that says, could you please schedule this person? It's not done as an official at all. And in that situation, what we usually do is like because we're in the same area as them, we use the same encounter number for our clinic. And would Cerner make it so that it would have to be a different encounter number, or can we still use the same one? If they're coming to leukemia BMT outpatient clinics, which is where our clinic is, and are we then able to use the same encounter number? Hello?
Is there someone from registration that have an answer for that? Or if that's still the appropriate?
Sorry, are you saying if it's a different location, then you can't?
Okay, so we are the same location. The reason I ask is because the workflow that we currently use is like one step, and it's like very easy. And so if we are able to use the same encounter number to book their appointment, then we could probably avoid this, like all the extra work that is happening here in the internal referral, like getting it processed, triaged, creating a new encounter number, because we are in the same location.
If it's the same core location, like in Cerner, then we can. So I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry, I'm not hearing whoever's talking.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, Martha, did you not miss all that from Dr. Kayla?
Can you hear me?
I can hear now, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I heard. Yeah, if it's the same core location in Cerner, I'm not sure. Does anybody on the call know? Like, is this the same core location? Like I'm not understanding if are you saying they're coming from another clinic and then over to you? Because if that's the case, then there's probably two separate core locations. Then you can't.
Yeah, sorry. I would say, this is Haley, I would say that it's a different location that long-term folks can build up as their own, and patients typically come from daycare, I'm assuming, or they're being transferred care kind of from separate clinics or doctor's clinic to you?
In practice, no. Like, hold on, am I on mute? No. So these patients are basically all within the same program. So usually before they go for their transplant, so i.e. before they go to daycare, they're already seeing somebody on the clinic side, generally their attending physician. And then they go into hospital, get their transplant, come out, go to daycare. And then after they're discharged from daycare, they're basically discharged back to their attending physician. So that like encounter number presumably does not change. At the same time, like we're not only in the same physical space, but we're providing kind of like an adjunct service. So it's like very intertwined, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So if there's no good reason to not use the same encounter number, I would really prefer to use the same encounter number because like this is a massive change to the workflow. And this is just one change to the workflow. Like there's going to be other changes and I can just foresee that they'll add up and, become unmanageable. But so I'm saying if this is something we can streamline because there's not a strong reason to do it a very much more complicated way, then we should probably do the simpler way.
And I'm just wondering, like Elsa right now we use the same encounter number, right?
Exactly.
So the difference, I think what you guys might be speaking to is an encounter number, which is kind of like you guys keep using the same encounter throughout the course of maybe a patient's journey. But within Cerner, each visit is usually, depending on the encounter strategy, as we like to call it, each visit is a separate encounter. So each time it'll be, so it's going to be, whether they're being seen in doctor's clinic and then also be seen at yours, it'll still be 2 encounters as the patient's come and gone. So that's the difference for the Cerner. So it's a little different in that instance. So you wouldn't be necessarily sharing an encounter because it's 2 separate visits and it'll be an outpatient visit and they get discharged at the end of the day.
Right. But if isn't it all the same chart though? Like
it's all within the same system, and then kind of like encounters are kind of like little sections of the chart, and in order to see different things, some things cross encounters, like documentation and things like that. But some things stay, like say medications stay on the encounter, so we know that medication was given in that space at that time, kind of thing. So there's a little bit of it's kind of different things that cross encounters and other things that stay on the encounter.
But just as
anyone from my team has more rich description.
I understand about like the encounter starting and stopping, and that is the encounter is tied to that patient physically coming. But the encounter number I'm talking about is not, I'm not using the word encounter, I guess, in the same way. Like right now, Elsa, where do you get your encounter numbers from? From PCIS. So they're, I guess, coded to like hematology, or there's a separate one for hematology daycare. And so I guess my question is, if the patient that we're seeing in long-term follow-up is already being seen in like the hematology outpatient clinic, when, say, Beatrice makes a new appointment, so this would be like one of the attending, this would be a clerk for one of the attending physicians, when she makes a follow-up appointment for Dave, one of the attendings, she doesn't need to go through this whole process, this like each time, right? The person's already in the system. She's basically just slotting them in for an appointment. My question is,
right,
can't we just use that same like process just to schedule into the appointment?
And sometimes it has pros and cons, but the encounter strategy for Cerner is that you do have a separate encounter, and it's for each instance that you see a patient, except for in certain cases like daycare, where because that patient's receiving very frequent visits, they'll likely utilize something called a recurring encounter. But otherwise, for this instance, this would be a separate encounter per visit for a patient, whether in the doctor's clinic or whether in LTFU. And that is Cerner encounter strategy. It's not even strategy, it's how Cerner's built.
Okay. I I don't know that we're fully, I don't know if I'm explaining the question properly, maybe is the issue.
I apologize if I'm not catching it.
Okay, well, let's keep moving because we only have so much time, but I'll flag this as an issue and then I'll try to word it in a more concise manner and maybe send it by email or something.
Fair, yeah, and if anyone from my team has anything else to add, if I'm not catching the right context here.
Yeah, let's have this as a takeaway and discuss this offline. It sounds like Dr. Kellogg wants to skip the part where the clerk does even the registration earlier, but we can take this offline. Martha, I guess we can continue.
The order didn't update to...
No, we can't hear you again.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Very faint.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Quiet still.
Oh, no.
We can hear you, Martha, but you're quiet.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh, I have like my face right up to the computer. So it generally, this should have been accepted. I'm not sure. It didn't update, but this would be accepted. So that would alert the clerk to say, okay, the provider accepted. I can now schedule the appointment. So then Elsa would go to back to the request list. And this is actually a step that I missed earlier. The patient was moved over to a triage list. So now this triage list, I've pulled it up and here is my patient. So now I would go ahead and just complete this request and book the patient from here. Now I'll be entering these required fields. And I'll go ahead and just book this appointment. And hit confirm. And now my patient is confirmed. I'm gonna get that referral encounter here and modify it. To the pre-outpatient encounter type. So once again, searching for that patient in the MPI. And this doesn't take this long. Okay, now it's launching the pre-register outpatient conversation. I'm going to go back to this encounter information. And now it's a pre-outpatient. And I'll put state. I don't need these printed. So now here's my patient that's confirmed. And now that it's a pre-outpatient, it would also fall off of this list. So it's gone off of this encounter work list. And my patient is confirmed. Did you want me to go ahead and check this patient in, Agnes, or?
It's okay. I have an example of how it looks like.
Okay.
Or I guess for Elsa, if on the day that the patient's ready, you can just go ahead and check this patient in. It's Martha, it's just a right click onto the box. There.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
Oh, sorry. So if Elsa is ready to check in, if the patient comes in, it's just like a right click to this appointment box, and then there's a check-in.
Yeah, this is the check-in function, and she would just check the patient in here like that.
Okay.
So,
And then,
just a point out to you, Agnes, you're a little quiet too.
I will go really close to my computer as well. Is this better?
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So I will take the screen back and let's go into the provider section. Okay, So Dr. Kyla and Arya, on the day of when you sign in, will most likely be working the ambulatory organizer. And then in this case, we'll just need to select the proper research here. You might be searching for a long-term follow-up for your case, VGH long-term follow-up. So when that's built out, it'll be available. Yes, sorry, was there a question?
I just have a question for the last section.
Yes.
Elsa pointed out that usually when we are making a new appointment for someone in long-term follow-up, there's generally quite a few investigations that are linked with the appointment. Will that be covered at a later time? How we would give her the orders of which things need to be set up prior to the appointment and that kind of stuff?
May I ask what type of investigations? Is it items to be attached to the patient's chart?
No, it's like, okay, this person's coming. Before we see them, we need to do an echo, a PFT, some blood work, sometimes a bone density, those kind of things.
It's Christy. I'm with CST Provider Adoption. So if there are things that you would like the patient to come with on their follow-up appointment, having done their blood work and their echo and a CT or whatever, you could, if it's an external referral, that triage process that Agnes has walked you through, when you place that accept order, you can at the same time place orders in the system for all of those other investigations. And then you probably just want to drop a note in the scheduling comments to say needs these things done before they come.
Okay, but we're only doing at most internal referrals. So is the process the same?
So internal referrals, I'm just thinking because you're not doing a triage for those, that it's just the referring provider, would the provider that's placing the referral request know which investigations they want that done, or is that going to be you?
No, it's always us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's something, Agnes, do you have a solution for that? Because then at that point, Dr. Kayla isn't seeing that referral. It's the patient's just going to show up in her schedule. So there needs to be a piece there where so Dr. Kayla, my understanding then is that you would need to, before you physically see that patient, you would need to review their chart and place orders for investigations to ensure that you have that information when you see the patient.
Correct. And the process that happens now is Elsa sends me a message on our EMR saying, so-and-so has been requested for a long-term follow-up appointment. Are there any investigations you want done before? And I say yes, and I list them. That's it. And then Elsa makes it happen. And so we need something similar to that if possible. It's a very smooth process, and I'm worried.
That's all right. We'll walk through it. Okay. I have some ideas, but Agnes, maybe we can talk about that offline. You can use Cerner for messaging, CST Cerner for messaging. So we can still have a similar process, but you will need to go in and place those orders for those investigations. So Elsa can still send you a message through the message center functionality to say this patient's coming up, what do you want? And you would then have to, from there, you can hop into the patient's chart and place those orders. And then Elsa would can see those and ensure that if things need to be booked, if those things need to be booked, they'll go automatically. Or if they're requisitions that the patient needs, she can ensure that they get them as well. So that's a piece that Agnes, I think, will have to add in to workflow.
Yeah. Let's iron this out offline first, and then we can take it back for the next session to the long-term follow-up team. Okay. Thanks, Dr. Kyle. That's a really good point. Okay, so if we're ready to go into the patient, we'll just go ahead and click this patient. On the very first time you access this patient, the assign a relationship box will pop up. So you'll just select the appropriate one. So it'll be consulting provider. I already have a test patient opened up earlier to use, but you would be clicking to that patient from the ambulatory organizer like just now. Okay, So when you open the patient's chart, there's quite a bit of information on here. The top right here is the toolbar where we access different pages earlier. For ARIA, you might be using My Experience depending if how many medical services you have to you're working at. Just because right now we're on View that's specific to oncology, hematology. So if we click this guy, it will show different workflows that you can access. Say if you need to work in cardiology as well, you would select the cardiology workflow. And then it will take you to the pages specific to cardiology. Okay. So on the blue part, this is the blue banner bar. As we can see, there's patient demographics on here, the allergies in the top left corner, your MRI and encounter number right here. Top right, you can see your location where we are right now and the encounter type. By selecting this as well, you can see what previous encounters the patient has been. So if you want to see the information from the encounter that the patient was at the doctor's clinic for, you can access it through here. Okay, so we'll mainly be working in these tabs, workflow tabs. Every tab has different sections or headings in them that will help you to creating your documentation. In this case, there's a tab for quick orders, as we saw earlier. These are just, this is just a page for you to access your most frequently used orders. This can be personalized. You can have a personalized box as well. This is done closer to go live and someone will sit down with you on the CST side. And today, so we'll be mainly working in the outpatient chart to help with the documentation piece. Any questions up until now? Awesome. So we'll move on ahead. As we can see, there's different sections on the left-hand side. You can toggle through them. You can move these according to your liking, depending on your workflow. This can be customized. There's quite a bit of information on the page, but at the top, you can see all the patient's information again. There's a team communication device, team communication section. So any informal communication or any actions you're looking to communicate to your team, say Dr. Kyla is looking to send the patient something, or like here, we have an example called patient's family, and if Aria is looking at the patient as well, this is that she can see that. So it's just a cross-team communication tool. It's informal, it's not officially documented and not distributed. Okay, there's a history section. You can see the patient's historical data. There's medical history, surgical history, family history, and social history. Implant history we can see as well. Any active issues we can enter here for the current visit. If it applies to both this visit and chronic, you can select this one as well. So you'll enter in the problem right here. We can see any previous documentation for this patient. Right now we have it selected on provider documentation. If there are nursing documentation that you might want to refer to as well, we can click this filter and apply, and then it will pull up nursing documentation. It is a multi-select field, so it'll pull everything that you select. You can filter out by time at the top here, or notes that you create yourself only, or it can be grouped by encounter as well. So I'll select my notes only. So we can see if it's grouped by encounter, we can see the different encounters that these notes were created on. Okay, there's a whole bunch of narrative components. The chief complaints, a free text component right here. We also have a physical exam component that you can type in, and a history of present illness. I'll show you in a moment. You're able to access any of lab reports that we mentioned earlier. So if there are diagnostics and echoes that needs to be done before the visit, you would see the results in this section. See if there's any. Okay, great. We have an example right here. So if we have an external lab, we would see the naming of that result to include the EXT. That's how you know it's an external lab result. Anything that you can click on, it'll display more results. If it's in-house done, there's no EXT. So if you had blood work's done, you can see here. And if we click on to one of them, let's see this one. If it's an RBC count, we can see there's more information. If this is relevant to your documentation later, we can actually tag it. Tagging is essentially a copy and paste function onto your note. What's good about this tag is that it does index where it comes from. So if you click tag at the top right, this is where you see everything that's been indexed for later use. When we open up our document later, we can see the tags. Okay, so same goes for all the other reports as well, microbiology and diagnostics. Diagnostics, we don't have an example right here. For the Care Connect link, there's different ways of accessing it in Cerner, but the one on this page will have the single sign-on function, and you won't need to sign in separately. History of present illness, you can dictate or type in anything. If you have a macro or template, or if you use Fester, you can insert your shortcut here. In Cerner, we also have a function called auto text, and that's essentially the same as like the macros that you use for Fester. So the auto text function, we typically use a naming convention that starts with comma, comma, or for everything that's being able to view in the system. So anesthesia has a whole bunch of great templates that they have created. And it can be different information can pull in, and there's drop downs that can be done as well. Okay. Let me shrink this a little bit because at the right corner of this history of present illness section, there's this arrow button, which pushes this section into the right-hand side. This is very useful because you can scroll up and down the patient's chart while you review their information if you need to review their labs. And then you can document anything you need on here. You can push the physical exam section here as well if you need to review that as while taking a look at the other parts of the patient's chart. Okay, there's quite a bit of different headings and sections, but you'll probably get, once you get a more hands-on idea and experience, you'll be able to explore a little bit more. So I will move on.
Can I just ask, can any of the history and stuff be pre-populated from previous notes, or do we just not see that because this is like a test patient?
Yeah, so for the history, because we don't have anything on this patient right now, there's it's not on here. The only thing that we have that's chronic is diabetes and tobacco use that's entered for this patient, but histories can pull forward into your notes.
But yes, if the patient had been seen elsewhere, if they had a history from being seen at St. Paul's or Lionsgate, or and as time goes on, those things would show in histories if that had been populated.
Oh, so it's only if that previous person that wrote that note had pre-populated those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for patients that you're seeing for the first time in CST Cerner, if they're net new to the system, then those things wouldn't be there. But if somebody has populated that along the way, then that history is visible from a different hospital on CST Cerner. That history then is visible to you.
Okay.
Okay, so there's different hyperlinks on the workflow tabs. We're still getting the position that you'll be working sorted out, but but the relevant hyperlinks will be displayed for you for Go Live. Right now we're in the oncology view. So what these are is they're shortcuts to opening up your notes. There's different note templates that pull up, and these templates are what dictates what shows on your screen. So this is a consultation note for the oncology team. From the forms that we've received from you guys, I think there was a clinic note that was specific to long-term follow-up. So in that case, we would be using an auto text. So what we would do, we would pull up a free text note. What a free text note is a note that's completely blank, so you can either freely dictate or insert the auto text that will be created for you. So I have prototyped the clinic note from your form. So it might be something, if it's on a personal level, it might be something like ... the naming that you prefer. And so I select this guy. So here's the follow-up note. This was the tagging that we saw earlier that you can drag and drop into your note, which will display. So things like dates can auto-pull, the patient's name can auto-pull. I've also auto-pulled the gender, the age. We also have medications that can auto-pull, immunization. I think that was one of the items on there as well. For cancer screening section, if you want to do a yes/no drop down, you can do that as well. And then for these underscores, it's easier for you to tap through. There's a button on the keyboard, F3, and then if you press that, it will automatically go through to the next. So it's easier for you to document your note. Okay, any questions for this? Just gonna move on ahead right now since we have about 7 minutes left. So I'll go ahead and sign the note. You can add any CCs if you would like. We can rename the note to long-term follow-up clinic note. Let's So what I'm doing is I am selecting a note type right now. It's not an image, I'll put note. And so the note type is what dictates the distribution of the notes. So most notes are automatically distributed through Accelerus and Care Connect to the admitting and referring provider. Sorry, the primary care physician and the referring provider, if that was done at registration. We'll move on ahead. So there were some orders that we were looking at. I think there was a bone density plan that might be useful for you guys. The bone density module. Enlarge just a little bit for you. So power plans, they will look similar to this when I pull it up. So this will be the order detail list. And then you would just select these orders to add any relevant information. And then the check mark is what how you select the order. Let's see. Reference text. Let's look at the reference text as well. When you click into this, you can see that the link to the requisition is provided. So you would just print out the requisition through this link. There are some provincial requisitions that will stay on the provincial site. For example, the special authority form as well. That is a decision to stay on the provincial site as well. So there will be no link for that one specifically from Cerner.
It's just a question. So
yes,
the you showed the link of that's the
yes.
the link is the rec that we usually use. Is that right?
Yes, I can actually click into it and then I can show you.
That's okay, but you're saying print it and then what would we do? Fill it out by hand?
So right here we can, it's a little bit small, isn't it? I wonder if I can enlarge it. Okay, there we go. So you can fill out, this can't be auto-populated because it's just a link to external. Yeah, but you can type it out.
Okay, that's
it's something that else does, yeah.
That's unfortunate. Okay. I don't know. Actually, no. Elsa's asking if because it's not practical to fill all these out by hand. Like there's nobody has time to do this. So sometimes we are able to print stickers from PCIS, which would help somewhat. But when Cerner goes live, are there going to be such stickers in existence anymore?
Hi, Dr. Gila, it's Grace. Are you talking about like patient information stickers, just with like their demographics on it?
Yep.
We can print labels from Cerner. Do you need their address and things like that?
Well, basically anything that would need to be auto. So like right now, that same bone density form is in our EMR. When Elsa opens it or when I open it, their name, date, birthday, family doctor, address, phone numbers, they're all already on there. Right? Like
I see. Okay. The system automatically does that.
It does. So
yeah. Okay.
We would need something to replicate that. Like we cannot go back in time and start handwriting all of our requisitions. It's going to slow everything down.
No, fair enough. Let me take that back and see what exactly information can be printed on a label.
Okay.
To at least try and fast track that a little bit for you.
We have a bunch of different labels that we use though. So we have demographic labels, we have mail labels, we have ones for recs with the ordering doctor on there. So depending on what we need, we'll print accordingly.
I see. Okay. Let me just type that out and see. We'll have to take this back as a discussion because we don't have much time left.
Yeah.
But,
okay. Thank you so much, Grace. Okay.
No worries.
So let's move on. So that was, I just want to make a note that was specific for any labs that need the provincial requisition form. For the ones that don't, the requisition typically already has the patient data on there as well. So only the special cases one that will need it. Okay. We have only a minute left, so I'll stop right here. The referral, if you're referring to other clinics as well, they'll just be in this referral, different referral boxes, and you'll just select an appropriate clinic to refer to. I will pull up outstanding questions from last time. There is one specific question from last time is how we're going to create encounters if you happen to have a I guess non-scheduled call and you might want to sit and turn it into a phone consult. So there is a clerical pool that will help that you can send a message to for the encounter creation. So that is a approved CST workflow for that. So you'll just send a message to the pool. It is in discussion right now for prescriptions and requisition to stay, for outside of Cerner to stay in ACRO. I think it's still being discussed with the project, but we can talk about this next time since we're at time. The next session will be on May 5th for with everyone in it, and we have the 2 scheduling sessions scheduled in a couple of days on May 2nd. Do we have any other questions before we let everyone go?
I just want to mention one thing, which was what Gagan was talking about earlier with the referral, like the internal referral. I'm just curious, like how are other parts of the program working it between, like, for example, we said that usually a patient is first seen in the BMT doctor's clinic, right? So then when they move on to daycare or the inpatient unit, are they going to be sending internal referrals for those? Because we're essentially like the same thing, like the chronic graft versus host disease clinic, like all these other secondary parts of the program. Like I can't see everyone sending internal referrals when a patient moves from the different spots.
Haley, is that something that you can maybe?
Hey, it's Grace. Haley had to jump off.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would just be best if Arya and Dr. Kayla, if you could send us an email with the question, and then we can take it back and find some answers for you and talk to the other clinics and see what's going on there. I believe they're all doing internal referrals for the first visit, and then the clinic will follow up with appointments as necessary. But I don't want to speculate on that, and I want to come back with a good answer.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say it like a different way so that you understand that it's like kind of multiple different parts that are still under the same program. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you. And it did clarify a little bit. But yeah, I think we need to take this back and discuss and come back with a good answer and options for you guys.
Very awesome. With that being said, I guess we'll follow up with some notes from today's meeting, and then Arya and Dr. Kala, you can let us know any questions you have. I'm sorry, we're